Good evening. This is Brian Shannon from Alpha Trends Blogspot. It's November 6th, Monday night. Let's go ahead and take a look at some stocks for trading on Tuesday. I've got Brocade on the screen right now, symbol BRCD. And you can see that Brocade has pulled back to this rising 50-day moving average. Now, a lot of times these moving averages tend to act as support. And we don't buy them just because they touch a moving average, but it tells us that we want to take a closer look at the stock and look at other time frames and see if there's something here that does give us reason to believe it might continue higher. The stock broke past some yearly resistance just a couple, early October, and it's pulled back, not quite all the way, but this is the first pullback to that rising 50-day moving average. You look at a monthly time frame, you can see the significance of where this stock is right now, and that this is really a multi-year break going back to 2002 is where we're trading in that territory now. So these are the levels not seen in 4 years or so. So the stock has gotten beaten down and has done its healing. Now it looks like it's possibly beginning a longer term uptrend. If we look at the 10-minute time frame, this is where we're going to get interested in the stock. Now, what I'd like to see the stock do would be to get above $7.78 tomorrow. Above $7.78, I think you can buy the stock. What I would probably do is buy it above 778. Probably put my stop at about 757, and my target in here would be initially just 8.5. Now that's a pretty conservative target for where it looks like it could go on the longer term time frame. But I want to keep a conservative target because that's about where that declining 20-day moving average is right now. So symbol on Brocade is BRCD. Next, we're going to look at Packeteer, symbol PKTR. I've got a daily chart on the screen right now. Here again, resistance tends to act as support. First, it pulled back to the 10-day moving average, then the 20-day moving average. We've seen that pullback come on diminishing volume in here after a large volume surge on the way up. So it tells us that the sellers aren't that aggressive in here. Now we've seen the stock start to stabilize, and the volume has picked up somewhat in here the last 2 days. Now, looking at a weekly time frame, we've got a little bit of resistance up near this 12.5 level. But I think that, or I should about 12.10 or so. I think it can get up to about 12.5 though. That's going to be my official target for this stock, PKTR. What I'd like to see happen though is it had a nice day today, and it started pulling back in the afternoon here. What I'd like to see is a little bit further pullback down to about $11.15. If it can pull back to 11.15, I'd then look to buy it on strength above 11.25 and set my stop at about 11.05. Give it a little bit of room to pull back down to there. And again, the price target is about 12.5. So that would be a risk of approximately 20 cents. And if it worked out the way I expect and hope it will, then we could make it properly about $1.25 on the upside. And let's see, I've got a small company here, small in terms of liquidity. It trades, pretty thinly, but it's just had a very heavy volume day back here, 3.6 million shares. I'm not sure what it was that woke this stock up, but the average daily volume is about 424,000 shares over the last 20 days. And looking at a weekly time frame, you can see this is my target up here at about $6.30. I think it can hit actually about this high right here, about 615. Be a little bit more conservative with that again. But longer term, this monthly time frame, here's another stock that looks like it's made a nice big long base. We're only going to look for a swing trade on it. I think you can buy it between $5.30 to $5.35, so basically in this range. And I would place a stop probably at about $5.18. If you wanted to be more aggressive, you could probably just go below this low here of $5.25. And again, looking for it to move up to about $6.15. Now, as far as short sales go, well, I've got two more little stocks I'm going to mention at the end. As far as short sales go, though, I'm having a hard time once again finding good short sale candidates. Today's rally kind of pushed a lot of stocks up into rally mode here, at least for the short term. But this dynamic materials symbol boom, this is a stock I've been kind of battling on the short side a little bit because I have some puts. Unfortunately, the puts that I bought were the November 30 puts, so that big gap down really didn't help me do much more than recover get me back to about break even. But I've got 2 weeks left in there, and I still think the stock is acting like it ought to continue lower. So I do have a position in this, and I'll probably short some of the stock too if it does what I hope it will, which is, first of all, the volume has been diminishing on this rally. This stock's broken. When it gaps down like this, there's a big problem, and I think it's going to continue lower. So looking at a 10-minute time frame and even going down to a 5-minute time frame, what I'd like to see is the stock to trade below 29.95. Not necessarily below 30, but below 29.95. We can look at the VWAP over the last 3 days since it's gapped down, and it's been really battling with that level. This is the average price since it gapped down. It's above it, it's below it, it's above it. So I think below 29.95 is where I'd like to sell the stock short. Add to my bearish position in there. And I think your stop could go at about $30.22. And I'm looking for the stock hopefully to drop down towards about 28.5 or so. And that's these lows. But really breaking below that even could really knock this stock down a lot further. I think it's got a ways to go. We'll see. Trade what you see, not what you think. Citrix Systems, symbol CTXS, stock is breaking down also. The daily time frame, you can see it had this big gap. It tried to recover, but the sellers are, clearly back in control of this stock. And looking at this 30-minute time frame, you can see this pattern of lower highs and lower lows. I think that, another breakdown below 28.75 is where I'd look to sell this stock short. I then risk no more than about 20 cents, put my stop at 28.95, and I'd be looking for the stock to move down towards the $28 level. I'll probably only do this stock if the market is looking weak, because it's not a huge risk reward. I mean, 75 cents risking 20 cents, it still makes sense on a risk reward ratio basis, but it's I think it's going to need a weak market to get going on the downside. Here's one of those thinly traded stocks I was talking about. It's traded a lot of volume, much bigger volume in here recently than it has for a while. It rallied, tried to break out, pulled back, but on light volume, and then the buyers came back in here again just last Friday and today, and it's holding above this prior level of resistance. This stock, to me, looks like it can't continue higher. I don't own it. I think I would buy it maybe above 201. Or maybe even here, nibble on it a little bit here, set a stop below that level at about $1.92, and then add to it on some strength. Looks like CCUR, that's the name of the symbol of the company, can make it up to about $2.30 is where the 200-day moving average is. So I'd call that my initial target. This is also prior level of support right in here near 235. So I'd say, near that 200-day moving average and that prior level of support would be a good place for it to potentially head up to. Next stock, another very low price but liquid stock, and it's again this declining 200-day moving average is at $1.72. But when we look at a weekly time frame, it looks like maybe something bigger is setting up in here, similar to a lot of these little stocks we've been looking at. I think I would consider buying it above $1.55. It's had resistance in there for the last 2 weeks, really. So this $1.55 level is getting tested more often, and I think that a stop would go about $1.48, and looking for the stock to rally initially to about $1.75, so 20 cents, risking about 8 cents or so. And the name of this company is called Curis, symbol CRIS.